naso. There are 176 psukim. It's pointed out, our sages pointed out, that naso is the largest sedra in the Torah, 186 psukim. In Tehillim, it's 176 psukim. In Tehillim, Kuf Yud Tes is the longest chapter, the longest psalm, and also 176 psukim. In Gemara, we have the Gemara Bava Basra, which is the longest Masechta, 176 daf. That's 176 leaves. This has been pointed out, but we need an explanation on that. Why are these three, the Sedra Naso, the Kapitel Tehillim Kuf Yud Tes, and Masechta Bava Basra, the longest, all containing 176? I've already, I don't know if I ever brought it out to you, we spoke on previous occasions about the meaning of the number 8. The world was created in 7 days, and everything in which is material, everything which is natural, is under it's under the reign, under the province of the number 7. If it's supernatural, if it's lamala minateva, above the realms of nature, then we are introduced to the 8th, something which is above 8. And the Torah is higher than nature. It's not subjected to the laws of nature. We are subjected to the laws of the Torah even when they do defy nature in certain cases, as I will soon explain. So this is the meaning of the number 8. That's what it connotes, that anything which separates a person from the natural way of things, from what people accept as natural, from the natural behavior, which is directed and dictated by the passions, the temptations. Anything which would separate a person from that would be under the realm of the number 8, which is one above nature. This year, we have the year after Shemitah, the 8th year. We spoke about that the Gemara tells us that in an 8th year, that an 8th year is especially fit for the coming of Mashiach, because when Mashiach will come, a new order will be in the world, not the way things are now, when people are in pursuit of pleasures and money and all other and their temptations. Rather, everybody will be united with one goal, to worship Hashem and to do His will, and their happiness is going to be derived from the worshipping of God. So that's going to be a Mashiach world, a number 8 world, which is above nature. And this week is the 8th week of Sphira. There are 7 weeks of Sphira. We count 7 weeks. Shiva Shavuos Tispalach, count 7 weeks, and then you're going to have Shavuos. So when it was Shavuos, like in any other festival, any other Yom Tov, we bring a korban, we bring our sacrifices, and there are special rituals in the Beis Hamikdash because it's Yom Tov. And everyone has to bring a korban re'iyah, a sacrifice for coming and being seen in the Beis Hamikdash, in the temple. So he has 7 days to do so on Pesach, because Pesach is 7 days. He has 7 or 8 days to do so on Sukkot. Shavuos is 1 day. The Yom Tov of Shavuos is actually 1 day. Today in Golus we keep 2 days, but the actual Yom Tov, the way it appears in the Torah, is 1 day. So the Gemara tells us that just like we are told to count 49 days before Shavuos, and the 50th day is Yom Tov, we are also told that we should count 7 weeks, and what follows after that is the 8th week. And therefore the Gemara derives from here that the entire 8th week you can still bring the sacrifice for Yom Tov. In other words, the Torah considers the entire week, starting with Shavuos, as an extension of Shavuos. And whatever you did not accomplish on the Yom Tov alone, you could still do so until the end of the week. So we are now actually still in the extension of Shavuos until after Shabbos, which is the 7th day, starting the 7th day after Shavuos.
So like Shavuos.
Maybe call it that way. And so in other words, there is the 8th week. People aren't accustomed to think about it in this way. They only know of 7 weeks, but there's the 8th week. And the 8th week perhaps is higher than the 7 preceding weeks, because it's the week of the Yom Tov, the week that we already have attained the goal that we were striving for and that we were counting to until we reach the 50th day. Well, until we reach the 8th week. So we are now still in Shavuos. And if anybody feels that he hasn't had sufficient time, or rather he didn't utilize this time on Shavuos for his resolutions of Naso Nishma, of becoming a fully Torah-abiding Jew, now is still the time. Now Naso Nishma is still echoing in the air, and it's still a part of Shavuos. So we are now in the Tashlumin of Shavuos, in the extension of Shavuos. And the 8th week, that is related by its number to the period of Bias HaMashiach and afterwards, of the coming of Mashiach and afterwards. There are 2 beverages that have a special holiness, and that we use them for ritual purposes: wine and oil, olive oil that is. With wine we make kiddush, it's used on the mizbeach, on the altar. We pour wine with the sacrifices, with the karbanos, and oil was burnt. Was used for lighting the menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. They had a menorah of 7. On Hanukkah we used 8, but in the Beis Hamikdash we used 7, and olive oil was supposed to be used. Also, olive oil appears quite often in the karbanos. In the Karban Mincha, we spill olive oil into the flour with which we make the Karban Mincha. That's shemen zayis, olive oil. Wine is called yayin. By the numerical value of yayin is 70. That is, so we use it on Shabbos, which is the determination of the 7-day week and the attainment of the goal of what the week is supposed to be for us, holiness. So we are mekadesh, we sanctify the Shabbos with wine. As I mentioned, wine is the gematria 70. Yud, Yud, Nun, 10, 10, 50. Together it's 70. There's not a time in the year when we make Kiddush. When we make Kiddush over a mundane day rather than a holy day. And that's in Chanukah. A day which is a very holy day, 8 holy days, but we're allowed to do work. We don't even put on any special clothing in honor of the holiday. And we go through our normal our normal schedule a weekday schedule. We go to work, but at night we come and we make Kiddush over the holiday. But we make it with olive oil by pouring it into the menorah and lighting it. Yayin, with which we are mekadesh the Shabbos, with which we sanctify the Shabbos, is 70. It's the pinnacle. It's the of the 7-day week. Shemen comes from the word shmona, 8, right? So that is with what we're mekadesh the 8 days of Chanukah. And with whom? So the maharal explains that the 8 days of Chanukah are really heavenly days. We borrow them from the future, from the days of Mashiach. They are days with which work for the number 8, not for the number 7. And therefore the naso of Chanukah, the miracle of Chanukah, came to be through the Kohen Gadol. The Meimat Yisrael ben Yechanan Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol is the one, the high priest is the one who goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the sacred of sacreds, the inner sanctum, as it's called in those, there, it's an atmosphere of heaven. It isn't any. That is, in fact, that is the connection, the link between heaven and earth. The Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Kohen Gadol, being that he is that his neshama is from such a nature, so he wears 8 articles of clothing, which are described in the Parshas Amayel, because he is connected with the number 8. The maharal further explains that Mila, circumcision, is on the 8th day, because Mila is actually opposed to nature. The orla, the foreskin, which we remove by the circumcision, that is actually part of the human body, and he's born with it. And it has certain functions of a nature of temptation. And the Jew who removes this arla actually defies nature, as if he would say to nature, I am not interested in what you dictate shall be creation, because nature creates a human being with the arla, with the foreskin. So this Jew who cuts off the arla proclaims to nature, I don't belong to your order. I am not subordinate to nature. I cut off my arla. And I cut myself off from nature. I am higher than nature. I don't belong to number 7. I belong to number 8. So Mila is on the 8th day. For that reason, the 70 nations, the Shivim Umais, the 70 original nations, which are the foundations of all the peoples today, which we find in the Parshas Nayach, when Nayach went out of the Teva, the Torah enumerates 70 nations. These 70, they belong to the world of nature, and 10 times 7 is 70, because everything is usually multiplied by 10 to emphasize its completeness. So the 70 nations belong to 7. The one nation belongs to 8. That's the Jewish nation versus the other 70 nations who do not perform mitzvahs mila. The Torah, which takes us into a higher world, which separates us from all nations. Ashabach abanu mikol ha'amim, we say when we make the blessing over Torah, the Rabbanu Shalom chose us from among all nations. The Torah is the one that takes us into the realm of the 8th world, not the 7th. So the Torah was given in the 8th week, the 50th day, which is the beginning of the 8th week, and a Jew who observes Shavuos says goodbye to the world, to the natural world of 7, to the world of 70 nations, to the world of Arla, of foreskin and temptation and greed and anything which is sensual. But he belongs to the Torah. He belongs to the number 8. The Torah, which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the inner sanctum. So therefore, after 7 weeks, when the 8th week comes, that's when we have the Torah. In Tehillim, you will find in chapter Kuf Yud Tes, 119, Psalm 119, you will find a psalm which deals primarily with Torah and mitzvahs. It starts off, Ashrei smimei darech ha'olechem b'chayras Hashem. Fortunate are those who are righteous on the way, and they go according to the Torah of God. And then we have these 176 psukim which follow, all dealing with Torah and with beseeching God, please give me my portion of Torah, make me go in your ways, and I should understand the Torah. Havineni, let me understand it. Eshmerena, I should observe it. It's the chapter in Tehillim which is a tefillah, which is a prayer to God that we should belong to Torah. And this kapitel, 176 psukim, goes according to the Aleph base. There are 8 psukim which start with the Aleph. Then there are 8 psukim which start with a base. Then there are 8 psukim which start with a gimel. So the maharal explains that because the Torah belongs to number 8, therefore this capital Kufya Test, Tamanya Api as it's called, the 8 aleph bases, also has 8 times the aleph base, because the aleph base is the Torah. And the maharal explains further. There's another capital in Tehillim which we say on Shabbos, which talks about nature, and then it changes the topic and starts talking about Torah. This is the capital the heavens, they proclaim the glory of God, of Magad and so on and so forth, and it speaks about the sun and the moon and the stars, and how they influence earth. And he speaks about the creation of the 7 days. These are the first 7 psukim of that capital. When it comes to the 8th pasuk, we change the topic. Torah Hashem to me, the Torah of Hashem is perfect. And he starts talking about Torah. He waits until the 8th pasuk to start talking about the Torah, because the Torah belongs to number 8. Generally, almost everything which I've told you now, I've found in the Sefer Maharal, one of our great sages, one of our great philosophers. And Hashem should help you that you should reach a point where you will be able to learn and understand Maharal. Now, with having the Maharal at our these words of the maharal, already having them at our possession, we are equipped to go back to our Sedra. Naso is the Sedra which we almost always read after Shavuos, and it's read in the 7 days after Shluma, in the 8th week, which still belongs, and it's still a continuation and an extension of Shavuos. Naso has 176 psukim. As we discussed this last week, the Torah, with its 600,000 letters, with the 600,000 oisius, comes from 22 roots. The 22 letters are the aleph base. Now, in Tamanya Api, in Kapitel Kuf Yud Tes, where we have 8 times the aleph base, of course, 8 times 22 is 176. So we already understand why Sedra Naso comes in the week of Shavuos, in the 8th week, because it has 8 times 22 psukim. Because it belongs to Shavuos, it's the 8th week, and on Shavuos we were Mekabel, we accepted the 22 a Torah which its roots are the 22 oisius. Therefore, Naso is 8 times 22. Which is 176. And Bava Basra, which is the longest Masech and has the most to offer us of God's teaching, so also has 8 times 122 leaves, 176 dafim. We use the number, that is. There's one daf which we don't understand, the very first daf. If some of you who ever tried learning some Gemara, you will notice that every Gemara starts with page 2, with page base, because we know that there's something above which we don't understand yet. We can't understand the the very beginning, the source, where at the wellspring of Torah, where it's given, there we don't even try to understand. It's too deep for us there. We start with base. So together with Daf Aleph, there's 176 dafim in Masechta Bava Basra. In this week's parsha, we have, interestingly, being that it's the week of Shavuos, and it has a relation to Chanukah by the fact that it evolves around the number 8. The Kriya of Chanukah we find in this week's Seder. Starting from Chamishi, I believe. Starting from Chamishi, so that was the Chanukah Samizbeach, and this is the portion of the Torah which we read in the 8 days of Chanukah. It might be interesting to note that in this gigantic Sedra of 176 psukim, the last 89 psukim is the Kriya of Chanukah. That's what we read on the Chanukah. And 89 is the Gematria Chanukah. Because it has a shaykhis, it has a connection with Chanukah. And because Chanukah and Shavuos are both related. And they're cousins, and they had one grandfather, the number 8. And therefore, they're also related as far as the time is concerned. The Torah is l'mala min hamakim, l'mala min hazman, above time and above space. It's not subjected to the laws of time and space. So, in the Kodesh HaGadashim, where we have the Aseret HaDibros, the 10 Commandments, and the Torah in the Golden Ark, and that is the cradle of Torah, from where Torah begins. Kimitzi and Torah comes out of Zion. So the Torah in the Kodesh HaGadashim, the laws of numbers did not govern there. The Gemara tells us of miracles in the Kodesh HaGadashim. And one of the miracles were that if you would measure the Arein and the dimensions of the Kodesh HaGadashim, it won't click, it won't match. Because if the Kodesh HaGadashim was 20 amos, I think they call an amma cubit in English. I don't know where they got that word from, but whatever it is 20 amas, 20 by 20. And the Aron HaKodesh was in the center. And if you would measure from the walls of the Aron HaKodesh to every wall of the Kodesh HaKodashim, you would find 10 amas. But something is inconsistent here, because the Aron HaKodesh in itself also should occupy space. So the Gemara says, Makim Aron Einam Anamida. The Aron did not occupy space. It's above the realm, and it's not under the jurisdiction of the laws of mathematics. It's higher than that. It comes from 8, which is above the nature of the 7 days of creation, and therefore it's not subjected to the laws of nature and creation. So the Shavuos is also, being the 50th day that the Torah was given on it, it's the only Yom Tov which isn't nailed down to a date on the calendar. In other words, Shavuos could sometimes come out 6 days and 7, or 7 days and 7, or 8 days and 7. Nowadays, it always comes out 6 days and 7, but not necessarily so in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, when we didn't have our prepared calendar. So it could come out on any day, and it wasn't under the jurisdiction of a certain number on the calendar, because it's above numbers and it's above time. It's not limited and it's not bound by the laws of time. Chanukah is also that way. Chanukah, the most important day of Chanukah is the 8th day. It's the 8th of the 8 days of Chanukah. Zayis Chanukah. That's the important day of Chanukah. Zayis Chanukah can come out 3 days in Teves, or it can come out 2 days in Teves. It's not nailed down to the calendar. Also, Shavuos there are 6 months of starting with Tishrei, one type of Rosh Hashanah, and then there are 6 months starting with Nisan, another type of Rosh Hashanah. And Shavuos is the 3rd and 7th in the 6th month. Here in the same Seder, naso, the week of Shavuos, we read about Chanukah. So in our Seder, we have several topics which the Torah talks about, and one of them is naso. Naso is a person who separates himself from the pleasures of this world. He's above this world. He separates himself from wine, from this wine which is yayin, which is 7 days. He's above nature. So the Torah says, Dabra b'nai Yisrael v'amat aleim, ish ayisha, ki yafli linda nazal nazir, ki yafli. If somebody would be wonderful, it's something wonderful, it's something remarkable that this person is doing. Linda nada nazir. He is a nazir. He abstains from the pleasures of this world. Lahazal Hashem. He abstains and separates himself. He should go to Hashem. What should he do? So there's three main halachas, 3 main dinim. Firstly, meyayin v'shayich hayaza. Let him keep away from wine. He has no connection with wine. He doesn't belong to this world, which is yayin 70. The second thing, Kol Yemei Neder Nizrei, all the days that he's a nazir, Tala Yavra Reishei, he may not cut his hair. The third thing, Kol Yemei Azir El Hashem, Anefesh Meis Layavei. He's not allowed to come in contact with anything which is impure, and the most impure and unholy thing is a dead body. He's not allowed to come in contact with a dead body, even in the case of by the death of his father and his mother. He's not supposed to be busy with the preparations, for the cemetery, because he's supposed to keep away from dead bodies, like a Kohen Gadol. As I mentioned, the Torah this week speaks about several items, but every Seder has a main theme. And if you want to find out what the main theme in the Seder is, you can get a clue by looking into the Haftarah, into the Navi, which is read after the Parsha. The Navi tells us a story of Shimshon, or you may know him as Samson, the powerful, shimshon, who was a Nazir, which means that if you want to understand the Seder well and everything that the Torah talks about in this week's Seder, concentrate on Nazir, because this is the main theme of the Seder, and then you will understand the rest. Nazir abstains and cuts himself off from the pleasures of this world, which are symbolized by wine. Because wine, what's wine? A person who is intoxicated. Well, any person, between me and you, any person who doesn't realize the truth, who blindfolds himself and is in pursuit of earthly pleasures, and he forgets the purpose for which he was created, is actually intoxicated. So the Nazir is the one who is sober. He knows why he is existing. So he'll keep away. That's being a Nazir, just like Mila, defying nature and its temptations and its lusts, and saying, "I belong to a higher world." This is the Nazir. If you want, Nazir, I think the Evan Nazir says this. Nazir comes from the word Nazar, a crown. He's wearing a royal crown. He is the crown of creation. He knows why he's here. And he isn't running around, all shikar and intoxicated like all the other people in this world are. He knows why he's here. So symbolically, he should keep away from wine. So what does it say? That he should not cut his hair. Every virtue, there are many virtues that which constitute a tzaddik. Taken all together, constitute a tzaddik. And each specific virtue has a certain famous tzaddik who is the Reish. He is the captain of all the other neshamas who followed him in that particular virtue. I would say that Moshe Rabbeinu, he's the Reish of all the Bnei Torah. Whoever actually puts all his efforts into the Torah and he attains high goals and high heights in Torah, he belongs to the camp of Moshe. And his neshama is directly related to Moshe Rabbeinu. In fact, like the Gemara says, is even called Moshe. You have this expression in the Gemara, a Talmid Chacham is called Moshe. Moshe Shaplakam. People, because of their specific kinds of specific tzaddikim that spent a lot of time on prayer, on tefillah, they belong to the family of David. Ani tefillah, David said, I am prayer. David gave us a book of Psalms, a book of prayers, which is the yesod, is the foundation of all our prayers. Anybody who is a Nazir belongs to Shimshon. Shimshon is a Reish of all the Nazir. Shimshon's being a Nazir was above everything which is required in the Torah. A Nazir makes a resolution to be a Nazir. Ki yafli linder neder Nazir. He makes a resolution, he makes a neder that will be a Nazir. Shimshon did not become a Nazir because he made a neder, because he decided, well, I think it's a good thing to be a Nazir. He was so much Nazir that he was born a Nazir. In this we find in the Haftarah that the Navi, the Malach told the mother of Shimshon, he will be a Nazir from birth. Every Nazir, Stam a Nazir, an ordinary Nazir, has a period of 30 days in which he is a Nazir. Shimshon was supposed to be a Nazir all his life. He is the personification of what Nazir stands for. He is the neshama of Nazir. He is the very essence of being a Nazir. I suppose that you are familiar. I would assume that you are familiar to a degree with the story of Shimshon and the way he was. He was a very powerful person, a muscular person, and he did much more than any acrobat can do today, or any Well, he was very strong, and that's how he dealt great blows to the Plishtim, who at that time tormented the Jewish people, and they oppressed them. So Shimshon was very strong. Well, his whole strength was in his hair. And when Delilah had his hair cut off, then he lost his strength until he got it back just for a moment to destroy the building in which he was in, together with 3,000 Plishtim, and the building collapsed, and he died together with them. Well, that's in essence the story of Shimshon. The time is running out. I don't think I can elaborate enough on this topic to do it justice, but what I would want to say is this, that the whole Klal Yisrael, the whole Jewish nation, is one structure, one organism, and they all fit into like one anatomy. We all come from Adam Rishon, Adam, the first created person, human being. He had a head. All the people of intellect, their neshamas were hanging in Adam Rishon's head, the Medrash tells us. The people of action were hanging in his hands. The people of tefillah, of prayer, of emotion, were those that came from his heart. Every part of the anatomy of Adam Rishon had neshamas which are related to that specific organ of Adam Rishon. And in every generation we have one structure of Adam Rishon. There are people in the generation, Jews in the generation, who are the great intellectual Baalei Torah, the great Chachamim, the wise men who know the Torah well. They are the head of the generation. There are those people who give tzedakah. They're the hands. You should open your hands for tzedakah. There are those people who go around actively, travel around to do mitzvahs, helping people. They're the legs. There are those people who are mispalel, they daven well. They're the heart. Ani tefillah. They're the David HaMelechs of the generation. Then, unfortunately, there is the hair in the structure of Adam Rishon. The hair, which is an extra. It has no purpose. It has no life. You cut it off and it doesn't hurt at all. And you're supposed to cut it off. It serves no purpose. Too much hair. There are parts in the Jewish nation, unfortunately, who are lifeless. There's no life, there's no neshama in them. They're actually functioning as dead. You know, they grow at the extremities. They're the hair at the top of the head, the fingernails at the extremities of the body. And you know, when a person dies, his hair still grows. Because you can be dead and have hair. It has a shaykhus with a mace, with somebody who's dead. And the hair is actually those parts of the Jewish nation that unfortunately go through kares. They're cut off from the nation. And right now, in the order of the world, the way our world functions now, unfortunately, it does us good to cut them off from ourselves, because otherwise they're going to be a nuisance to us. However, a time will come when it will become apparent Lo yidach mimenu nidach. No Jew will ever be lost. Everybody will come back. Everybody will come back, without any exception. But for that, when Mashiach will come, the Nazir who lives in a world which is not in the world, who lives out of the atmosphere of this world, who lives in a world of eight, he belongs to the world of Mashiach, to the world of Mashiach, who is going to play on the harp of 8 strings. He has no connection with this world. He is the one who will rehabilitate those who are cut off, and those who are lifeless, those who are tamei, those who are nafshei smeis, those who are dead corpses. So therefore he's not supposed to cut off his hair. His whole kedusha is in his hair. He is the Nazir. And Shimshon is the Pchina of Mashiach. And we find the very... Pardon? An aspect of Mashiach. Therefore we find a very interesting medrash. Yaakov Avinu, when he was parting from his sons in the Parashas Vayechi, in the Seder Vayechi, went through all the Shvatim until he came to the Shevet Dan. Dan Yadin Amay Kachet Shivtei Yisrael. The tribe of Dan is going to have this and this attribute. Yivdan nachash alei derech shvif ben alei yairach hanoich sheichin sus v'yipal reich v'yachayam. And the Medrash tells us, and Tagim Yainus also brings it in Parashas Vayechi, that in his prophecy, while Yaakov Avinu was observing, as Yaakov Avinu spoke to his children, Yaakov Avinu looked at all the future generations, like we would look on the Futurama, something like a prediction of the future. So Yaakov Avinu, in his traveling through future history, came to the point of Shimshon, and he saw Shimshon. He saw his feats. He saw his feats of strength, and the way he protects the Jews through his muscles. And he thought he's Mashiach. Oh, that's Mashiach. Yidan a Nachash. Dan is the Nachash, the snake of Kedusha, who is going to be Mesaka, and he's going to he is going to bring back to its original state the Nachash, the snake, as before the Chait, before the sin of Adam Arishan. And therefore he's called Nachash, the snake. And Nachash, as Farim tells us, is B'gematria Mashiach. So he saw Mashiach. Oh, he's Mashiach. Until Yaakov saw, in this journey through the future generations, as he was watching and looking into the future, that Shimshon was killed by the Plishtim. Oh, he's not Mashiach. He's a disappointment. And the next pasuk is Elishu Ascha Kivisi Hashem. Hashem, I'm hoping for your Yeshua. When are you going to help Klal Yisrael with the real, genuine Mashiach? Yaakov thought that Shimshon was Mashiach. Yaakov wasn't an ordinary person. By all means not. When Yaakov saw Mashiach, he knew Mashiach. He wasn't mistaken. Shimshon was Mashiach. Shimshon could have been Mashiach. But something went wrong. If the generation would have deserved it, he would have been Mashiach. But the generation didn't merit it yet, and therefore he wasn't Mashiach. There are certain periods when Mashiach is ready to come and the generation merits them. And then some people don't, they spoil it, and then we have to wait for the next chance. This year, Tismach Tavshin Memches, Tzaddikim have said is a very, very has very, very much potential that Mashiach should come this year. I can't go into explanations too much, but I would just tell you a little bit that it's a year that ends with Ches, and Tismach Tavshin Memches, and very interestingly, even the Goyim agree. In this week's Seder, the Saita, V'yamar Isha Amin Amin, she says 2 times Amin. She agrees that she will get punishment if she deserves it. This year, the Gayishi year ends with 2 times 8, Amin Amin. And 8 is the number of Mashiach. Anyway, I can't go into much to it right now. The time doesn't allow. But we hope that we will merit it. If not, we're going to say, we're hoping for it. So the Nazir, Shimshon the Nazir, has in himself the specifics, and he has the attributes and the potential of being Mashiach. Yaakov knew what he was looking at, and then he saw that it was a disappointment. He still hopes that the Rabbeinu Shalom is going to help. And when Mashiach will come, those who are cut off, the hair will be reinstated to where they belong, to the head of Adam Rishon, and they're going to become the crown of Bali Tshuva, the crown of the structure of Adam Rishon, of the general structure of humanity. So this is what Shimshon depicts, and this is the Nazir who wears the crown. If the tzaddik who is going to be matzliach, he's going to be successful in bringing back those who are astray and replanting them on the scalp of Adam Arishon, that's his crown of Mashiach. And as a pasuk in Kapitel Peites B'Gematria Chanukah in Tehillim, which talks about Mashiach, finishes off the Olav Yatzitz Nizrei. His crown is going to sparkle on him. The Nezar, the Nazirus, the Nezar, the crown. So our Seder talks about Mashiach, and the Parsha of Nazir is the main theme of the Seder, and with that we could understand all the other inyanim of the Seder. When we look into the Sefer Shoftim, at some of the feats of the mighty Shimshon, he did many things. At this point I would want to bring out that Shimshon is from the Shevet Dan, a Shevet which was also cut off from the rest of Klal Yisrael. They were expelled from under the Anani Kavod, from under the clouds of glory that the Klal Yisrael had in the Midbar. They were a cut off Shevet. And Shimshon, from that Shevet, is the one who reinstates and he reconstitutes the Shevet Dan to become worthy again of being part of Adam Rishon's structure, of his anatomy. So, one of the things that Shimshon did was he walked out in the field. I think that's among the first things that we're told about him. And he encountered a lion without anything in his hands, without a rack, without a stick. He just got hold of a lion and tore him apart. The Torah never tells us just plain stories. Everything has something deep in it. There's a certain Chodesh, a certain month in our calendar, which is the lion, and that's Chodesh of the Chodesh of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, of the destruction of the temple, and the mazel on they have on the zodiac. Every month has a certain symbol to it. The mazel, the symbol of the Chodesh Av, is the lion. Ariba Nistarim, the lion, which is the destroyer of the temple. And Shimshon destroyed that lion because he has the makings of Mashiach. Shimshon was captured by the Plishtim, and he was surrounded, and they closed the gates of the city on him, and they figured next morning we're afraid we're afraid to encounter him at night. In the morning we'll take care of him. And the gates of the city with the heavy steel and copper doors and barriers and those rods and beams were closed, and he couldn't escape. So Shimshon just walked over to the doors, the Pasuk tells us, and just ripped them out with their foundation straight out of the earth, put them on his shoulder, and carried them up on the mountain. That was Shimshon. The strength of Shimshon, the strength of Mashiach. Now what Mashiach will be able to do? If there will be gates that are closed before any Jew, like the Gan Eden is closed today to the Rishayim, with the Lat Acherav Mesapeches Lishmer as Derech Eitzachayim, with whatever barriers, do not let any Jew go into the Gan Eden because he's not worthy of it. Shimshon Mashiach will repair the neshama of every Jew, and who just destroy the barriers. We're right now in the year Tavshin Memches Tismach, which is a year which has terrific potential for the coming of Mashiach. Let's hope it's going to come. If Chas v'Shalom at the end of the year it didn't come yet, we're going to sing Ani Mamen B'Amun Shleim B'Levias HaMashiach. We still believe he's going to come, even though he lingers. He's going to come. There is a special time that nobody knows that he must come. There are potential years that we can figure out through our computing, and we will know that this year or that year it's very possible, very probable he should come, but it could be spoiled. But there's one very, very special date that cannot be spoiled. That date he must come, and that nobody knows. Nobody shall never tell that to anybody. So whatever happens, if we are disappointed, we're going to sing Ani Maimen, and we're going to say like Yankov Avinu did, but we are still in the week of Shavuos, and it's the week of Mashiach. It's the week of number 8, and it's a week that we still have the remainder of today and Friday and Shabbos to utilize, and everybody should feel a chayv, should feel his duty, that at least he should contribute everything that he could to become a good Jew, and this is his contribution to the coming of Mashiach. If Chas v'Shalom the week will go by, and we're going to say Baruch Hu after Shabbos, and we didn't have the Geula yet, let us at least not feel guilty that we were instrumental in his not coming, Chas v'Shalom. So we're still in the middle of the Shavuot. We're still in the middle of Shavuos, and all right. So we're still in the middle of Shavuos, and we can still utilize it. So have a very good Shavuos of whatever is left. We didn't have a very good Shabbos.